Hi guys, I found this recently and it's really cool. I have to tell you about it. It's a really easy way to make your own text adventures, and it's free. And when it's this easy to do, it's fun. It's really fun to just start, describe a room, and just go from there and just start fleshing things out. So let's get started. Don't be intimidated by this train timetable looking thing. It's actually kind of cool. You make the world really easily. By the way, this is as far from programming as you can get. It's more like typing a novel, and that's why I like this. It's like a nice break from my usual programming stuff. And then it'll make this for your own benefit, so you can just like track your project easily and flesh things out. So start project. I'm going with Lord of the Rings just to muck around with. Lord of the Rings. As a muck around project just to show you what's going on. Straight away you have the development side on this side, and you have the reference stuff. This is the whole manual here, and you can just work through from the start like a tutorial, and you can just when you sorry, I meant to click the other thing. There's just examples that you can use and fiddle with, and there's examples that you can, whatever they just talked about in this section, you got these examples you can click on and you can muck around with them by pasting them in over here. And you can search the documentation there, and you can just Google it. And if you're going to Google, I would recommend typing Inform 7 before everything, not just Inform, because Inform is a generic word. So Inform 7 and then what it is you want to know, and see what happens, because Inform by itself just gives you some irrelevant results. So let me see. You're going to see how easy it is. This is the title of your game. We're going to flesh it out. Lord of the Rings by Clint. And if we try to run it, nothing. It gives an error and says there doesn't seem to be any location in the story for this, so there's nowhere for the player to begin. Because just to get the game running, all you need is a one room. Frodo's house is a room. Run. And at least we have the game. And we're in Frodo's house. So it opens up, you got the title of the game, and you get the title of the room you're in that you started in. Type look, which is one of those things you do in these games. You type look, and you just get the title of the room again, because we haven't given it a description. And the way you give it a description is you put some quotes after that line, and in the quote you put whatever you want. So you see a warm fire burning in the hearth. There is a table with some half-eaten food on it. A window lets the sun in from outside. So that's just the description. Run the game again. At least when we enter the room, we get a description. We can go look, and there's a description. Now, how do we make rooms connected to other rooms? Now, rooms are just locations that you can visit. It could be a canyon, it could be a cornfield, it could be a little box that you get trapped inside of. It doesn't matter, but you call it a room, and that means it's a location you can visit. So we'll just put the Shire. We want someone to go. We want to go outside Frodo's house. The Shire is north of Frodo's house. That does two things. We can give it the description, which I'll paste in just to save some time. The sun is shining and you can hear birds in the trees. That gives us somewhere to go, because the Shire is north of Frodo's house. So you can type go north, or you can just type N for north. So now we're there, but I can go south and go back to Frodo's house. But the thing is, if someone's just starting this game, there's no way they knew to go north. So what you do is you flesh out your descriptions to include directions of where you can go. The front door to the north leads outside and so they know where to go if they end up out here. South is Frodo's house. There is a feature that you can turn on by typing a passage of text here, like verbose room descriptions or something, which lists all your exits, but it's kind of clinical because you see the description and it says you can go north, south, east or west, and it's off by default because it's a bit more story-like to just have the directions embedded in the description. So the front door leads to the north, leads outside. So, okay, we'll go north. The sun is shining, blah blah blah. South is Frodo's house. So just real quickly, I paused the video and I just fleshed it out with one more room called the river. I made sure there was a description in the Shire room to say to the west is a river, and now we can go 3 places. See, the river is west of the Shire, and I gave it a description. So easy, that's how you make rooms. Now we're looking at the room, and the player starts in, Frodo's house, and it's like, oh, what can we do in here? Now, typically in these games, you can look at specific things. You can take things, you can talk to things. So we're just gonna see a warm fire burning in the hearth. Oh, look at fire. You can't see any such thing because this description is just for the user. You have to now put objects in the room, and we'll do it like this. What we're going to call this, you see a fire burning in the hearth. I'm going to put the hearth in the room by saying the hearth is here. Because I said here, it's going to use the last room that I mentioned. I can also say the hearth is in the Shire, and that will mean it's direct in the Shire, but just the here is fine. I'll just show you what happens. Just like the rooms, you give it a description by putting the text right after it. So the fire burns brightly, giving off a comforting warmth. Just pasted that in there. Let's see what happens. Now, we've entered the room, and we get the description of the room, and we also get, again, the fire described. Because the goal was we wanted to be able to type look at fire. We can try look at fire. Well, look at hearth. You see nothing special about the hearth. The way it's treating it is like an object. When you do this, you put a bit of text right after it where you make the object, you say where it is, and then some text. That's the text they're going to see when they enter the room. If you type look at the thing, it's going to say you see nothing special because it's already described it. But we don't want that. It's not something we can take. I mean, we can, but that's currently how it's being seen, as we can go. I mean, let's do what we're supposed to do. Let's comment out that for now. Let's get to fleshing out the room in a minute. What you do is you populate your room and you say, you see, I want to set this up so that you have a ring. You can find the ring and you throw it into the fire, and it changes the ring to have text on it. Just to show what you can do with this. So first, there's going to be a ring, but I thought I'll put the ring inside a chest. That could be, you can do some sleuthing, just some investigating, and just give some depth to the game. If we have to get it from a chest first, so we can say a small jewel chest is here, and we give it a description there. This is a better place to start with this. So I've just commented out. Commenting means it's a note for yourself as the developer. You just put like a little square, you put the square brackets, and you can write remember to blah blah blah, and it's just for you to read. The program ignores it. The point is the program is ignoring this line now. And you see a small jewel encrusted chest. Now that's great because that's kind of the default behavior for an object that you make. A small jewel chest is here. I can take the chest. Notice I didn't have to type small jewel encrusted chest or small jewel chest just to pick it up. If I typed chest and it worked out, the best match was this this object here because it has the word chest in it. And it makes sense. I can go like north, and I can drop. Oh, here, inventory. See, carrying small chest. So I can drop the chest. Dropped. Now, if I look at the room, it'll say the description of the room and the small jewel chest. If I go back to Frodo's house, and the hearth, there's no chest because the chest is over here. So, chest. So, you know, we can take it and drop it around. So wherever we drop it, that's shows it in the room. What we want for Frodo's house is to be able to, well, there's a warm fire. I want to look at the fire. You know, usually, and I want to take the food off the table. And, you know, that's all reasonable to do. But having them all as separate objects and having them all listed out explicitly like this would be really awkward and weird. So one answer for that is let's put the hearth back in. I mean, it's pretty funny. You can pick up the hearth. You could pick up. Take the hearth. Taken. Inventory. You're carrying a hearth. Not what we want to do. So what we want to do with the hearth is make it scenery. The hearth is scenery. Now this does a couple of things. Firstly, it means that description you get is hidden away from this object level description. It's not one of the objects you can pick up. You only get its description when you type look at hearth. The fire burns brightly, giving off a comforting warmth. Now we can start interacting with the room. That's great. But looking at this, it's reasonable that the player would say, oh, you see a warm fire burning in the hearth, and they go, okay, look at fire. There's no such thing. Well, easily fixed by setting up some alternative names. Understand fire and fireplace as the hearth. The ones in quotes are the new words, and you don't put the object in quotes, you just refer to it and it knows what you mean. So we just run that. I just clicked run. I just paused the video to save you some time. I can go look at fire, look at fireplace, and I get the same results. Look at hearth. That covers that, and I've covered it in one line. This is so much easier than normal programming, I gotta tell you. And the other thing it did was take hearth. That's hardly portable, which is, you know, you can't, it's rooted to the ground. That's fine. That's what we want. So scenery is good for that. Although if they try to be cheeky and go take fire, that's hardly portable. That's not a great response. I think we can do one better. We go before taking the hearth, colon, you don't have to put a new line. Instead say you'll burn your hands. Now they can't take it anyway, but this handles the situation of when they at least try. We can say something a bit more funny. So take fire, you'll burn your hands. It's a bit better than it's not portable. Now we want to flesh out the table and the food, so we can do that in the same way. I'll just pause the video and add that real quick. So I've just added the table and the food. That means when someone walks into the room, they can try and look at the fire, take the fire. They can look at the table. Now, I decided rather than describe the craftsmanship of the table in a narrative, makes more narrative sense to maybe direct their attention to the food on the table. That seems like a more what you'd write about. So the food on the table has been there a while and it's gone bad. I can look at the food, get a better description for that, because I've some slightly hardened cheese. Now the reason they didn't show up here like the chest again is because I've got the table is scenery, the food is scenery. Also, I can type take table and it will say that's hardly portable. That's reasonable that the table is not a big oops, whoa, whoops, dropped something. Stupid phone's buzzing. But the food, when you take the food, it would say it's hardly portable, which it's kind of annoying and a bit immersion breaking, because they'll think, why, what's wrong with that? Is it glued to the table? But as a game designer, you go, I don't want to complicate things by having them take the food and fleshing out what happens and then making them think the food might have a use somewhere. So you still don't let them take it, you keep it scenery, and you put in another alternate. So you just like before taking the earth, we got before taking the food, instead say, so take food, and so they know that, we just gently direct them somewhere else, and at least they go, oh, alright, well, then they focus on something else, which is what we want. Now let's flesh out my dual chest here. I'm just going to segment things a bit, just keep it all together in a way that makes sense. The thing about objects is that because it gives its description up front and center as soon as you enter the room, that gives you the opportunity to give it a closer look. Why can't I type? And in this case, I haven't given it a better description for looking at it. So to give it that extra description, you go the description of the chest. Notice I can refer to it as just the chest and it will work it out, because there's only one chest in this room. Is, and I'll paste that in real quick. It has a golden latch on the front. It looks easy to open. So you see a small jewel encrusted chest. So reading the whole description, you decide to focus on the chest and go, look at chest. It has a golden latch on the front. It looks easy to open. Cool. Open chest. We haven't set that up. It isn't something you can open. Right. Fair enough. Now, you can do cool things in this, like the ring is in the chest. It'll make it like a bowl, like a container, like a cup that doesn't stop you from taking things from it, but require close inspection for you to see what's in it. So if I look at chest, it'll say in the small chest is a ring. I can take it. In fact, put ring in chest. Look, I don't get a description that the ring is there, but you can still take it. It's basically, this is not the behavior you want. This is like having a bowl or something you could put things in, or a bucket, or a set of shelves that is open. I don't know. So to fix this, we make the chest something you can open. The chest is openable. Save you some time. By default, it'll be open. So you say the chest is closed. Now what happens is you have no idea what's in the chest till you open it. Thankfully, when I say look at chest, it gives a hint that you can open it, because I wrote it that way. It looks easy to open. Alright. There's no indication there's a ring, by the way. I can take ring. You can't see any such thing because it's closed. And the cool thing is you can make containers that are transparent. If I had said the chest is transparent, actually it would let me see the ring right now. I could look at the chest and it would say you can see a ring. That's for things like jars, which has a lid which you have to open, but you can still see inside it. But the default behavior makes sense. So anyway, open chest. You open the small chest, revealing a ring. Now I can see it. Now I can take it. And that just gives us some fleshes the world out a bit. The thing about this, I haven't given the ring its little top level description, nor have I given it its detailed description. So if we just go outside and drop the ring, if we look and get a room description, you can see a ring here. So it just told us we can see an object. But if I drop the chest, or even if I go back, it'll say you see a small jewel encrusted chest, because that's the top level description that I gave it. If I look at ring, it'll say you see nothing special. I need to give the ring a detailed description. The description of the ring is, pasted that in. It's gold and shiny, so shiny you can't help being captivated by its beauty, which gives us something to look at when we type look at ring. So that's fine. Open chest, look at ring, and that, we're going to use that in a second. Now let's try throwing the ring in the fire. Oh, by the way, I didn't, because I've said the food is on the table, that actually automatically makes the table a supporter. The other thing I can do is say the table is a supporter, but that's not necessary because I've already said the food is on the table, so the inform works can glean from that I could say put chest on table. Also, it saves us the trouble of picking it up in the first place, which is great. If there's no reason that we can't, it'll do it. You put the small jewel chest on the table. I can go look at table. On the table is a small jewel chest in which is a ring. How cool is that? Because I left the chest open. This is amazing. It saves you so much work, and you can just get on with having fun, right? So now let's throw the ring into the fire. First, taking the ring, that can't contain things. Let's have a look at our inventory. Inventory. We're holding the ring. So it got that far as picking up the ring, but then it said that can't contain things. It means the fire can't contain anything. So the great thing is it at least understood that throwing something into something is basically putting something into something. So we can get away with typing throw the ring into the fire. We can also say put the ring into the fire. Will have the same effect, which is, we want to change that because we want to throw the ring in only. So we'll get to that, but let's fix the fact that we can't put anything into the fire. We'll say the hearth is a container. Now watch this. Open the chest, throw the ring into the fire. You put the ring into the hearth. It's not the description we want. I mean, we'll like throw the chest into the fire. In fact, we could just put the chest in the fire. You put the small jewel chest into the hearth. Here, if we imagine the players imagining you put the ring into the fire, that's implying that they use their hand and they put it there, burning their hand in the process, let go, put it down, and then took the hand out. What we really want is you're going to throw something in the fire if you're going to give, if you're going to take this course of action. So that's what we're going to make it say. So over here we say before, no, instead of, because we don't want it to happen at all, we want to prevent it. Inserting is the word we're looking for here, the ring into the hearth. Say you throw the ring into the fire. Now that at least covers, that at least makes it a bit more descriptive when we say throw ring into fire. We could even put ring in fire. You watch, it'll take the ring out of the fire and put it back in. Same thing. What we want is for the ring to end up in the fire, have the writing appear, and then you take the ring out and you're like, oh, and you can look at the ring and see that there's writing on it. We could go into the detail of having it land in the fire, its state changes, you have to then get some tongs to take it out because you'll burn your hands, and blah blah blah. But we can just, does that really help the game? Maybe it might, but if you want to save time, and for you and the player, you can decide to cut a corner and just do it like this. Just paste that in there. No, notice that I've said instead of, which means it prevents you actually doing it. So if I go inventory, oh no, it worked. Now I need to say instead. That prevents the action from going ahead. So what I've done here is saved us all a bit of time by just saying some events pass, some events happen. You throw the ring into the fire. After a time, you notice it's not burned, but some writing has appeared on it. You use some fire tongs to remove the ring. So, open chest, throw ring into fire. You throw the ring into the fire. After time, blah, blah, blah. Now, if we go inventory, crap. I guess if we look at Hearth, gotta be honest, that's a slight thing I don't know how to take care of, but I've fixed it with my coverall, you see. I'll just paste this in. So what we really want is to be able to, before I paste that, let me just show you what happens. You can throw chest into fire. You put the small chest into the hearth. That's not going to work. I mean, we don't want to have to deal with the player just burning all and sundry and then dealing with what happens if did they need that thing? Did it get destroyed? What, you know, how burnt does it get? How do they get it out? And instead of having to deal with all that at the story level, we'll just write it off at the story level by just having them instead. Now we got the instead of again. Instead of inserting something into the hearth, instead say you don't want to burn that. So I believe now, but because there's this, instead of inserting the ring into the hearth, if you do insert the ring, it'll pick that as the more specific action to do, but if it's anything else, it'll do this. You don't want to burn that. And I think for some reason the instead of inserting something made it so it doesn't end up in the hearth. Throw chest into fire. You don't want to burn that. Inventory. You're carrying nothing. Look. Say, take chest. Oh, that's right. That's why it wasn't in my inventory, because it didn't pick it up in the first place. Instead of inserting the ring into the hearth, it stopped us even before we picked it up, I guess. So that works. That works. It's fine. I've taken the chest. Throw the chest into the fire. You don't want to burn that. Inventory. We're still carrying the chest. That's good. Now we can't burn anything. We just get a response that we're not allowed to. And that just saves us a whole bunch of trouble. Open chest. Throw ring into fire. Inventory. You're carrying a small chest and a ring. We still have the ring. I didn't take it out specifically. I think it picked it up to throw it in. But the point is that we've written a passage of text about it being in the fire, and at the end of it we said we took it out, so they always had the ring and the player didn't know any different. That saves us a whole lot of trouble. Now if we go look at the ring, it hasn't changed much. So what we can do right now, this is the fun part, in the part where we say instead of inserting the ring into the hearth, we go instead say blah blah blah, and then we put a semicolon, which means and also do something else after that. After they throw it in. Instead also add, and I'll paste this in to save us some time, colon, now the description of the ring is the gold and shiny ring has revealed some strange writing. So that will happen if they throw the ring into the hearth. These two things will happen because I put that colon there to chain them. So open chest, take ring, throw ring into fire. We get our little, you throw the ring into the fire, but something happens and you take it back out. Inventory, we still have the ring. Look at ring. Okay, I fixed it by removing the instead from here. So instead of two insteads, we just have instead of inserting the ring into the hearth, say, you throw the ring into the fire, colon, now the description of the ring is blah blah. I think the instead say was throwing things off. We've got two insteads. So anyways, look, if it doesn't give you the result you want, just play with which instead you have. I don't know. There's a logic to it, but I'm new to it, and but I'm excited. So anyway, we'll have a open the chest, take the ring. Notice I can use the and it doesn't care. I can look at ring. It's gold and shiny. You can't help being captivated. Throw ring into fire. We have our little event. Remove the fire. Remove the ring from the fire. Inventory. We still hold the ring. Now look at the ring. The gold and shiny ring has revealed some strange writing. So there you go. Now we've got some gameplay happening. You can basically make anything you want happen. To finish off, I'll throw in a character real quick. Now we're still, if I put it here and just say Gandalf is a man, Inform actually understands if you call someone a man or a woman or a thing, it'll actually use the right grammar when it's referring to them with the auto-generated text. Like, he doesn't like that, or he doesn't listen to you, or something like that. But Gandalf's effectively an object, so we give him his top level description that we'll see if he's in the room, and we'll put him in the room. Gandalf is in Frodo's house. I tried. Yeah, I can have. Sorry, I just paused it. I can have Gandalf is here, just like everything else. Gandalf is here, and then we'll give him a more detailed description for when you look at him, which I'll paste now. The description of Gandalf is, he is much taller than you. Gandalf is here, which puts him in Frodo's house. And so to finish all this off, we're going to find out what it's like to make people you can talk to. And bear in mind, humans and objects, even anything, don't have to just stick in the same room. They can have autonomy. I saw an example of a character that follows you around wherever you go. You can tell them to do things. They can go somewhere on their own accord. It's great. You can make anything happen. So because Gandalf is in the room, we get a short top level description. Gandalf has arrived. We can look at Gandalf for a better description. He is much taller than you, having to stoop whilst inside your humble abode. He wears a large, tall, grey pointy hat, a long grey robe, and a long white beard. He doesn't wear the beard. By the way, you can have clothes in this. You can wear them. You can put them on in different orders, and you can't take off the thing underneath first because you gotta. It's great, and you can give people things, and they could wear the clothes. Whatever. It's they can conceal things, so that you have to. They won't reveal them unless certain conditions happen. So anyway, we want to talk to him. Talk to Gandalf. That's not a verb I recognize. Now that needs some explanation. You'd think, why can't the game understand talk to? That's a pretty obvious one. Well, it does one better. Ask Gandalf about the ring. No reply. But you can do it if you set it up. The point is, there's instructions in there for talk to. Talk to. You can set up a talk to. Basically what it means is overriding all the ask, tell, answer, say, to just mean talk to, and it gives you this real bland version of things where you can just type talk to Gandalf and you'll get a response. You talk to Gandalf about the weather, and that's it. Having ask and those sorts of things gives you more options, because you can ask Gandalf about certain things, and that might trigger other events, and that might lead to another point in the conversation. So what you can do is set up points of conversation. I'll paste this here. It's kind of odd. You have to intercept everything. Yeah, like you basically, instead of asking Gandalf about ring, say blah blah blah. So that's how you set up a point of conversation. Instead of asking Gandalf, instead of asking person about some text in quotes, so you have to type ring, then you get this say, and then you'll get that bit of text will be spat out by the game. So I've preceded it with Gandalf says. So ask Gandalf about ring. Gandalf says, Frodo, it's a very dangerous ring. We must dispose of us. So, you know what I mean. Now, one more thing about this. If you go ask Gandalf about that ring, which should work, he doesn't understand. So, what you want to do is, again, set up some alternate names for the same thing. And here's how you do it. Just like I did with the hearth, understand fire and fireplace as the hearth, I'm going to put paste. Understand, now they're in quotes now as well. Understand ring or the one ring as, and I'll put here this label. There's more about labels later in other tutorials, but the point is that these square brackets in the text means I've given it the label ring. So over here in the text, in the quotes, if I put the square brackets around that, that means this label, and this label has these three possibilities. So when I ask Gandalf about ring in square brackets, it could be any one of those things and all work. So here we go. Ask Gandalf about the ring. Ask Gandalf about ring. Blah, blah, blah. So, and that's what we want. So this can go anywhere from here. You could give Gandalf the ring. He could take it away somewhere. You could even have, in this, you can even have turn-based combat, like a role-playing game where you hit and you have stats and you have armor. If you want, just set that up. That's how amazing this is. And not even just for video game type stuff, but just for narrative type things and being a world that responds to you and people that you talk to. You can take it anywhere you can think of. You should look up how to do it in the documentation. So it's a bit over the half-hour mark. Hope that was beneficial. Hope you enjoy it. I'm going to upload some. So you make your game and you just save the file and you can upload it to the website, and then you can give someone a URL and they can play it on their browser. And that's what makes it really fun. So I'm going to go do that, and I hope you guys get something out of this. See you next time. Bye. Oh, I just remembered there's all these tools which you should look at too that help you flesh out things you might have forgotten, things that don't lead anywhere, and it solves those horrible problems. This is all the things I've done, and I can click on one of them and say this is the path to win the game or something like that, and test the game with it by replaying that over and over and seeing what happens. There is a replay button to replay the last thing you just did. I don't even understand the full power of this yet, but there's this where you can set up these little moments where, is that the right response? Then you click bless and look, play to here. And if ever you automate play and it doesn't give the response that you blessed, it'll throw up an error for you and say, hey, this has changed, and you can be like, whoops, and it helps you make sure your story doesn't have any bugs in it, which can happen. So this is very powerful, and I believe it can set up a map and help you visualize where you're going, which is fantastic, which is where that train map thing comes from. And yeah, it's great. There's features here which really help make it not the boring things that we used to probably remember, and make it easy for you to make fun. So enjoy it, have some fun, see you next time.